Maybe if I unmute myself, that'll work. But hey, y'all, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of the Talk the Rick Show. If you do not know who I am, then that means you are not subscribed. And if you are not subscribed, you're going to be missing so many great episodes because, like I said yesterday, this week is filled with so many episodes, and I'm so excited. And obviously, this weekend we have PPW, and I'm so excited because more and more names just keep getting announced. Soon they're going to have their anniversary show. But I'm super excited for this episode because I have not had a female wrestler on in like forever. So let's give a warm welcome to Zoey Cannon. Hello.
Hey guys.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. That's great. So we always hop right into it with who or what got you into wrestling?
I started watching wrestling when I was little with a bunch of my brothers, and then I got really into it, and I always wanted to be a wrestler, and then it didn't occur to me until I was actually in my 20s that you can actually go to school for things like this. So I found a school, and here I am.
That's great. And you're actually at training now because we can hear it.
Yes, I am outside of the school because it's very loud in there.
So obviously you're at training. Who trains you?
My trainer is Jesus Ricardo Rodriguez, as everyone knew him in WWE. He was Alberto Del Rio's ring announcer for a while, and then he did a bunch of things as the character Chimera, which is where he wore a mask. It was really cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, like, how long would you say you actually trained for before you got, like, a real match in front of the crowd?
So I started here at Three Legacies Wrestling in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in October 2022. So this past October. And we started training about 4 days a week. And then we opened up other days to have like open ring sessions so we could learn little things that either we wanted to learn that we wouldn't learn in training, or if there was something that we wanted to like really work on, we could work on it then. So I went from like anywhere between 4 to 6 days a week. And then that was in October, and that was straight through until my official debut match, which was April 29th.
Wow, okay. Okay.
So it took me a little while, but hard work pays off.
Exactly. And like that's so like is it kind of local to you?
Yes. So I live in the city where the training school is, and then we perform out of a place called the Brightside Opportunity Center, also in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So every month we have shows there. We have our next show coming up for this Friday, July 14th, and I have a match. It's the first ever intergender match, and it's me and my tag partner Al Snook, the one-of-one Al Snook, versus Journey Burke and Junie Underwood. So that's happening. And then next month, we have our stadium show at the Lancaster Barnstormers Baseball Stadium. So that's happening in August. But every other month, we've been doing a show at Brightside Opportunity Center.
That's great. It's a lot. Like you said, it pays off. And like,
it's
kind of like close to you. That's cool because like I'm in like the Hazelton area. So like there isn't really like any schools like close to me. It's like an hour. And I'm like, oh, wow.
There's always new schools opening, and there's also schools that sometimes you don't even know exist until you really look it up online, and then you come to find out that it's, you know, down the street or a block away.
That'd be crazy to be like, all right, I'm going to training down the street.
Yes.
So in the chat, we have the Pro Wrestling Podcast saying, Harley is a workhorse. An interview almost every day is truly something. Like she said, it pays off.
It does.
And then he says also, hi, Zoey.
Hi.
So what would you say is your favorite thing about wrestling?
My favorite thing as of right now, which I mean, it's always kind of been this way, is definitely the community that you build. You work with a bunch of different people all the time. And then you meet more people, you meet the fans, you meet more trainers, you go to different places, and you can expand to so many different horizons.
Oh yeah, for real. And it's like they kind of become like your family, which is good because like if your like blood family isn't like strong enough, you'll have that wrestling family. So
yeah, and they say friends are the family that you choose.
Honestly, and like my brother, his name is Nolan Pierce. He's actually a wrestler, and every single time like I go to shows, like I set up and do like free poster making for the kids, and so like I'll be there early, putting in like the work and stuff. So I'll be setting up, and like he will obnoxiously like I'll be talking to someone, and he'll be running back in the ring. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to have a conversation here. Can you like turn it down a bit because like the ring is so loud.
It is, and especially the work that goes into it outside of the ring. Because I mean, you spend maybe 6 to 12 minutes, maybe even 15 inside that ring during a show. But all the work before and after, between setting up, flyering, getting the word out there, setting up, whether it's concessions, your merch, your gear, and your everything and anything really.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's all for the fans.
Honestly. So, like, with that being said, what would you say is the hardest part about wrestling for you?
Consistency. Because I mean, again, it is all hard work. I go to training as much as I can. I got to make sure that I keep up with social media. I got to keep up with my cardio. I have to keep up with everything because I mean, there's always someone else that's willing to take your spot. So you have to make yourself known.
No, yeah, definitely. Like, I've talked to so many wrestlers. I'm like, well, I want to get into the business, but I don't want to be like, I love wrestling, but I don't want to be a wrestler because it like scares me because of like the pain and all that moves you do. I'll leave it to y'all, but I want to be like a manager so I can yell at people because that's kind of what I do already. So I'm like,
yeah. I would recommend to anyone if you wanna be in the business, by all means, wrestling is for everyone. There's always a different role to take, whether it's being in the ring, whether it's being a referee, a manager, commentary, someone in the back. There's always a spot.
oh yeah, and I'm one of those fans. Like I have anxiety, but like I'm crazy loud because I'm like, oh, if you're gonna go out, just go out and have the time of your life.
You have to. You have
So
to.
like exactly. So if I could do that as a fan, I could do that as a worker. I'd be like,
Yes.
come on, get your ass moving. We ain't here to sleep. Get it moving.
Exactly.
So that's kind of on my list. But my dad's in the chat. He was the one we like, go ahead, just send her.
Hi, Dad.
I'm one of those, like I said, I have anxiety. So I'm always like, but what if they say no if I ask about it? He's like, go ahead. She's nice. Just ask her. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I sent you the DM.
Sweet baby angel.
Honestly. So we have another podcast in the chat. We Like Wrestling podcast.
Hey, I know them.
Mm-hmm. They're the best. Zoe was a great guest. She's okay right now. No, I'm just kidding. So if people don't know, are you more of like a baby face or a heel?
So I am definitely a baby face as of right now. Going into wrestling, I always wanted to be like that stone cold sort of, really tough guy, and I want everyone to love me sort of an aspect. So I really wanted to be a heel. But through a bunch of character development, which is also you learn more about yourself, even more as a wrestler, and then also as like a person, you do learn a lot about yourself, how you work, how you interact with people, like even more so than a job. Because when you're at a job, you have coworkers and you just kind of get by. But when you're in the wrestling business, you do learn a lot about yourself. And again, one of those things is, how do you portray yourself to the world? And come to find out, like especially during my debut match was in front of over 500 people, and that's just at one of our regular shows. And as soon as I stepped out there, everyone's cheering for me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is excellent. But definitely more of a baby face. The kids love me, and I think it's because like we're around the same size, so they can kind of we can interact well. But yeah. I love when the kids come over. They're all excited to meet me and see me, and then I introduce them to other wrestlers, and it gives them a sense of like, this day is really, really cool. And if I'm going to change their day for the better, absolutely.
No, yeah, and like I love wrestling because like you could be having the worst week of your life, but when you have that show, it changes.
Oh yeah.
That's great. So if like one of those younger fans came up to you and was like, I want to do exactly what you're doing, what advice would you give them?
Do better. No, because I mean I have little fans, like the littles, and they're, oh, I want to be just like you. You know what? You can be anything you want as long as you're happy.
For real.
You want to be a firefighter and a wrestler, you go right ahead. If you want to be an astronaut and work at Dunkin' Donuts too, by all means, as long as you are happy. But if they want to be a wrestler, like a real wrestler, there is a lifetime of opportunities for it.
Oh, definitely. You just gotta find yourself a good school and go from there.
Like I'm 31 now, and I've only been training here for just under a year. I've always had the passion for it, but I never really had the opportunity. So now that I do, I'm taking it. And you got to take these opportunities.
You got to take it and run because, like you said, that spot will get, will get like easily filled with someone else.
Absolutely.
So if WWE and AEW called at the exact same time, which one would you take?
I don't know. I'd be too busy having a panic attack. I love both. I love how each one has their own separate idea of what their fan base wants, which is great. I love the storytelling of WWE, and I love the independent aspect of AEW. I guess really it would just be a matter of price. No, it's I don't know. I don't know which one I would go with because I never thought that would ever actually happen.
I mean, one day, like, can you imagine, like, 2 weeks from now, you just get a call, like, hey, so we just want to get you, and you'll be like, that girl called it, the one that was
I will be calling you in a panic, and it's just going to be me screaming, and you're going to be like, she got a call.
That'd be great. So, my dad's still in the chat, hyping up your name, he chanting.
Hi, Dad.
Because that's what we do best at the shows. We got to make it to one of your shows.
I love it. I love everything about it.
So do you have like a dream place that you wish to wrestle in or like a dream venue?
Well, there's like, I would consider it, I guess, like different steps of dreams, because I can't pinpoint an exact like.
Okay. I think we lost.
But hey Austin, other little bits and dreams. Like this past weekend, I helped out at Major League Wrestling in Philly, and it was at the 2300 Arena, and I couldn't be happier. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. If I could ever wrestle for Major League, I totally would. If I could wrestle for, it's a promotion out of Worcester, Massachusetts. It's called Beyond Wrestling. They have a really big fan base there, and a lot of their talent has also gone to AEW. I would love to wrestle for them one day. Pretty much anywhere that is willing to give me a shot, I would love to be able to perform for them.
That's great. But so
yeah, like if WWE called me, I would cry and then take it.
So you're going like the WWE side now.
I've always had a love for them. They were my number one. So if they ever called me, absolutely. I mean, if AEW ever called me, absolutely too. They're both great companies. But my childhood dream has always been WWE.
Definitely. So is there anything like specific that you do before you come out that curtain?
Usually when I'm in the back room, I my trainer, if he's there, we have a little pep talk. We just, we go over, me and my opponent, whatever we're thinking of doing. Everyone's really happy back there, which is really good too. But me personally anyway, I kind of breathe. I have to remember to breathe because, believe it or not, people forget. But I let all the anxiety out, and as soon as I step through that curtain until I come back through, I am Zoey Cannon through and through.
That's great. And like that's how I give it to y'all, because I don't know if I can like go in that ring and do the moves and act like I don't have anxiety, because like with me, I don't know if it's like with wrestlers, but like if I ever have to perform I'll always have to pee every like 5 minutes. I'll be like, oh man, I can't.
Oh yes. Before my official debut match, and granted, I had Clara Carreras as my tag partner, so she was amazing to work with, and then we went against, sorry, it's very loud in there. We went against Harleen Lopez and Journey Burke, and that was a lot of fun, and all of those women are great talent to work with. And when I was getting ready to go out there, every one of them came over to me and said, you got this, nothing to worry about. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a great time. We're going to put on a great performance. And like I said in the beginning, like the camaraderie you can't match it.
Yeah, I mean, and like I think that's for me. If people keep saying you're gonna do great, you'll be fine, that makes me more anxious. So don't even tell me I'll be fine.
I know, and I remember as soon as I heard my music hit, I was like, I can't stop now. I can't stop now. And the running joke that I was telling everyone was, what do you plan on getting out of your first match? I just don't want to throw up. And it worked. I didn't throw up.
I mean, I would be less worried about throwing up. I'd be more worried about like peeing my pants. Like, I'm just sweating, guys.
That too.
That'd be something I would do. So obviously you have an intergender match coming up. Like, how do you feel? Do you think like that should become more of a thing, or?
I think the intergender matches are definitely a person by person basis. At Three Legacies, I started out as the only female trainee. Right now, we have 2 more who are amazing women, and they're really getting pretty far with what they got so far. And they just started. And as the only girl that was here for the last almost year, I've worked with only guys, and they they've softened up. They've learned how to work with women and not freak out. And I'm getting bit by a mosquito. They've learned to work with women and not worry so much about the stigma of let's fight women, which is great. And for me personally, hey Austin, for me personally, I don't mind it. That's the kind of match style that I've always worked with. However, working with women is yes, hello. Working with women it's different, but it's the same. Your style gets a little bit different because you're not doing necessarily like moves that like the Big Show would do. You're doing moves that usually women would do.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't mind it. I kind of prefer it in a way, just because that's what I've been training with for like the last year. But the women that I have worked with, excellent.
That's great. So like, how do you feel about like hardcore deathmatch kind of matches?
It scares me. Again, this past weekend at Major League Wrestling, there were a couple matches that I got to witness, and they had barbed wire. There was one that had a toilet plunger that was covered in thumbtacks. Things like that. Looking at it as the person that's not doing it, I get anxious, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna hurt, and I don't want to get hurt, and so it does build this type of anxiety. But I can tell you that when you're in that ring, life is totally different. Like, I know that there's hundreds and hundreds of people around me, and I can't see any of them. If I were to be in a hardcore match, I would want to know what I'm dealing with first. So if I'm going through a table, or I'm getting hit with a chair, or a wrench, I don't know. I would want to kind of know it ahead of time. But I'm willing to try it safely.
I mean, I think if it matches the storyline, it's fine. Like, if you're bleeding too, do not be coming by me, because that's my biggest pet peeve in wrestling. And so when people get injured, they'll be bleeding and they be coming like close. I'm like, you gotta back it up, sir.
That's the other thing. If I look down and I see some blood, I'm okay with blood. There was a brief time in my history where I worked as a CNA. So I'm used to things like that, but at the same time, I'll also be like, why am I leaking? Where is this coming from? But I mean, safety for me is my number one concern. Safety for me, safety for the fans, safety for my opponent, the ref, everyone involved. Bleeding does happen. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me yet. But it does happen. So it's just a matter of precautions, really.
Yeah, and if you go do those crazy matches, hey, it's fine to bleed. Just don't be coming close to me, because like, if it's not my blood, then it's gotta go.
Right? Especially after the lovely pandemic that we had. I don't think anyone wants my blood.
Right? No, we can't be swapping in blood. So wait, that goes to said, who was your favorite challenge, or like has been your favorite match?
Ooh. So I have had, I think I wrote down nine matches so far, which it might seem like a lot. It might seem like a little. I've only been actively getting out there since the end of April, and it is now the beginning of July. My favorite match, just because it meant a lot to me. It was technically like my pre-debut match, and it was against Al Snook, who I train with. And he's so smooth in the ring. He's an excellent competitor. He's an excellent wrestler. Even though he's my opponent, he's helping me, and like everything went so great. I would have to say against Al Snook. That was the most memorable, my most current favorite, and it means the most to me match.
Most definitely. I like there's so many people like on the indie scene right now. So is there anyone that has like caught your eye? It could be on like your promotion or like any promotion.
As far as who I
like who you wish to have like a match against.
Willow Nightingale. She is just so damn good. I know that she's definitely a lot bigger of a star than I am. Other people that are in, I don't want to say my level of the independent scene, but I guess people that just aren't televised. Let's see. From my promotion, we have a guy. His name is Just Jay, and he's great. He's only been training for a few months, and he's had a match. He's excellent. Like, this kid can do no wrong. Let's see. Gabby Gilbert is another wrestler who I've been wanting to get in the ring with for a while, either as an opponent or as a tag partner. I love the work that she does. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of people that come to the Three Legacies shows as wrestlers, and I think they're so good. But then there's also that anxiety part of me that is like, they're really good, and I'm not at that level yet. But
yeah,
really, anyone in this business, I would love to share the ring with one day.
Okay. So do you ever find yourself like being a self-critic if you watch your matches back?
Oh yeah. Part of growing, especially as a wrestler, is understanding your faults, because I can talk all day about the wonderful things that I do. I love you too. I can talk all day about the wonderful things that I do and how much I love to do X, Y, and Z. But to be able to grow and to fix the little problems, or to go back and watch them and hear from, whether it's my trainer, I've gotten some feedback from even Delirious, who's another amazing wrestler, and getting that feedback is something that I really enjoy now. I didn't in the beginning. But learning because I'm performing for them. I'm not performing for me. I'm performing for them, whoever them is. So if someone comes back to me and says, your suplexes could really use some work, I'm going to go back and check and see what do they see, and I'm going to work on it. But going back, I am definitely a big critic of myself.
No, definitely. I like, that's me with the podcast. I'll be like, oh my God, I sound like that. I said that. Like, what?
I have been trying for the last just about year to really cover up my Boston accent as much as I can, because now I live in Pennsylvania and they don't get what I say here. So I've been practicing.
I mean, like, that's another thing, like, as being a wrestler or like anything involved in wrestling, you also learn like the mic, what would that be called? Like, you learn how to use promos. You learn how to do like talk on the mic. I don't know, man. I'd be like speaking too fast or speaking gibberish. Be like, I don't know.
So that's actually one of the things that we do practice at training is our promo work, because a lot of what you do is nonverbal. So when I get in the ring, you should, in theory, be able to tell as a fan, even as a fan that has no idea who I am I a good guy or am I a bad guy? Am I happy today or am I kind of angry today? How do I express myself non-verbally? But also, if I do have to talk to someone, whether it's on an amazing podcast or I have an interview right after a match, or if I have to promote myself or a show, how am I going to do that verbally now? Because I can only get so far with my nonverbal ways. So we do practice a lot of promos, and with Jesus Rodriguez being my trainer, he's also amazing at promos. So he helps to kind of give us the structure of everything. And then I'm able to build off of that. So if I needed to, I'm not today, if I needed to cut a promo about, a show that's coming up, I should be able to have that structure to know what to say, when to say, how to say it.
Oh, yeah, that's great, because with me, I'd be like, hold on, let me study a little bit.
I'd have a key card and be like, we have a show on Friday. And that's actually how it was when I started. I mean, even now, I still have little bumps in the road as far as promos. I have bumps in the road as far as everything. But for promos especially, it is hard because you have to learn to talk to people as a character and to give all the pertinent information without sounding like you're pre-recording.
No, yeah, and like some people have that face, like they are like a baby face, and like some you could obviously tell like they're a heel. And like whenever I talk to heels in the business, they'll be like, well, it's so easy to be a heel. I'm like, I don't know how you do it because me, I am like so nice in wrestling, outside of wrestling, and I could never like be mean to any child. I cannot tell them to shut up or scream at them. I'll be like, oh my God, come here. I'm sorry.
That's actually one of the funny parts about the character development of Zoey Cannon is because, again, I wanted to be this like big, bad, heavy metal, I'm so cool kind of a wrestler. That's what I've always wanted to be. And my trainer's like, you smile too much. And I can't be a big, angry wrestler if I'm like, hello to everyone. So I tried being a babyface. I figured, why not? We're all characters. So let's explore this. And I saw a bunch of kids and I'm going over to them and I'm like, hi, handshakes, high fives, whatever. And they loved it and I loved it. So why not roll with it?
Exactly. Until the time comes that you need to be a heel, then we'll just go with being a face.
You know, there may be a switch at some point.
Oh.
Not today. Oh my gosh, the one of one else. And he walked away.
So obviously you're still like I wouldn't say new to the business, but like you're
I'm
still yeah, you're still getting your foot in the door. Yes. So like, do you think when the time comes down the line that do you think it's gonna be like a mindset thing, an age thing, or an injury thing that causes you to be like, okay, I'm done wrestling?
It's probably gonna have to be, if anything, an injury. I hate to say, I can't even say knock on wood. There is no wood here. It's all brick. But I mean, I'm 31 now. I didn't do sports in high school. I did marching band. There's not a lot of athleticism to it. So I didn't really have the athletic kind of a background. And with that, I didn't go out running, jogging, anything. So when I came here, I lost a substantial amount of weight, which was great. But my drive and my passion for this sport, for this business, this entertainment industry, I love it. And nothing is going to really mentally stop me from doing it. But like if I lose a limb and I can't get in the ring and they tell me I can't get in the ring, that's when I'm going to be like, all right, I'm a manager.
Exactly. And like if you can't, that's what I was gonna ask next. If something causes you to retire, would you you'd still be involved somehow?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said before, there's a spot for everyone, and roles do change. Things change, promotions change. You move, you get lost. I don't know. So, something is always going to happen, but that's why wrestling is so great because it's such a fluid entity that you can start off as, for example, like Jesus Rodriguez, when he was, I believe it was in his early 20s, he was wrestling as Chimera. So he was wearing the mask. He was doing all lucha things. And then when he got to WWE, he became more of a ring announcer and, more of the manager aspect. He did still wrestle, which is great. And then he also got to wrestle as Chimera again. So there were many different hats that he wore. And he's done many different things. Now he's not only a trainer, but he is still wrestling and he goes to other promotions, which is great. So if there's anyone that can show me that you can do everything, it's him.
No, yeah. I have him on Facebook. I'm like, oh, I really want to get to his show, but it's always on like different, either like there's a show that I'm already going to be at or my work. I'm like, oh man.
Oh, I know.
Dude. And like that's a good thing about like independent wrestling. Like there's so many shows.
There's always a show. Always a show.
Like you have nothing to do this Saturday. All right, let's go to this show. I like it's not just on Saturdays, which is cool. Like there's Friday shows, Thursday shows, Monday shows.
Yeah, there's some places like Beyond Wrestling up in Worcester, Massachusetts. They have what they call their streamlined show is Wrestling Open, and it's every Thursday. And you can always count on it being on. And if you can't make it up to Worcester, like myself, You can watch it on IWTV, so it's always streaming on there too. With Major League Wrestling, if I wasn't able to go to their pay-per-view that we had done on Saturday, what's today? Tuesday? Monday? It's a day.
Monday.
I know. I need to take a nap. But if I wasn't able to go to Major League Wrestling, I could still watch it. I think it was on Fight TV. It was a pay-per-view. But there's always something. And if a show gets canceled, it's okay. They're going to do another show, and then there's always another show to go to that night.
Exactly. So, like,
I mean, between three legacies, SWO, the Susquehanna Wrestling Organization, if I pronounced that correctly. And then there's like CZW and just like all sorts of different promotions. It's great because I can go online and be like, where do I go today? It's like 5 shows.
Right? You're like, okay, my plans got canceled, but I'm still going to wrestling. So give me a minute and I'll figure out where I'm going.
I like to consider my week starting on Sunday. It's Sunday, train, show.
Nothing better than that.
Like, there's always something.
Honestly. So Anton says, didn't realize you were trained this recently. You should be very proud on that grind for real.
Thank you. Again, it's a lot of hard work. It's not only a physical hard work, because when I started, I didn't realize like really how heavy I was. I was like 210, 215-ish pounds. I've lost like just about 50 pounds so far, and that's just from training here. So it's not only the whole physical aspect, it's a mental aspect. You have to really push yourself, because I mean, my trainers and my co-trainees can only push me so hard, but it's up to me to be able to get back in that ring, to get back in the car and drive to training, to continue to do the promos that I know I'm going to bomb, but I still have to try.
Yeah.
So it's very hard, but I love it. And if you love something enough, then trying gets a lot easier.
Exactly. So my dad says, what is your mindset before and after a difficult match?
For a difficult match, which I have had, my mindset before is it's usually always the same before, which is, you got this, whatever happens. I've been trained well enough to know that if something does go wrong, there's always a way. There's always a way to do something. If I like totally mess up a move or something, I still have my character to be able to kind of fix it a little bit. I'm also usually working with someone that is wonderful in their own aspect, so they can also help, because it is a team effort. I mean, we're both putting on a show. It's not like they're just standing there and I'm flying out of the ring. So especially when I had like a difficult match 2 months ago, I don't know, at some point ago, I did have a difficult match and I wasn't happy with it. Afterwards, I was a little down on myself. I kept rewatching the match, trying to figure out where exactly everything was going wrong. But then at a point, I took a step back and I said, I can't base my entire training off of this one match. I'm going to hopefully have many more matches, and I have to learn from this. So I have to take it and I have to make it into a positive. So I may not have done a suplex correctly. I know for the next one, I have to do it better. Maybe not perfect, because you can't always be perfect, but I have to do it better, and I have to figure out where my faults are.
Definitely. You got to admit your wrongs before you can make it right.
Yes.
That's great.
It's a humbling industry.
There's a lot that goes into it. Like, not just like the wrestling. There's always something going on backstage, on stage.
Always.
It's a lot, but it's good. There's good and bad about wrestling, but we try to make the good outweigh the bad.
Mm-hmm. There's good and bad about everything, but to me, wrestling will always be good.
Yeah. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I'll be like, hold on, let me just look at my wrestling pictures. I'll be like, I have a whole,
right?
It's fine.
If you look at all the pictures you take with people, or the 8x10s that you got, or a show that you went to, just if you're ever feeling down, and it does happen to all of us, just take a look at everything that you have built for yourself. whether it's shows you've been to, cool podcasts you've done, anything, and just be like, I got it. And no one can take that away from me.
Most definitely. And I have like 3,000 pictures on my pictures and videos on my phone, and I have to say at least 98% of them is wrestling ones.
Same.
Be like, yeah, so don't even worry about it. They're like my homework and stuff. And like, no, it's just wrestling.
I know, and I try to print out some pictures just so like I can tangibly have them. I can keep them in the car with me. I can put them up on my kitchen wall. It doesn't matter. As long as I have them and I know I have them and I can look at them. But the problem is there's so many pictures. And then by the time I need to go pick them up at Walmart, it's been like 2 months. And I'm like, those are gone.
Exactly. So like when I print them out, like I'll be doing the same thing. I'll print them out and I'll be like, okay, well now that I have printed them out, I don't need to have them on my phone. So I delete them, and then next thing you know, there's a show
Then you lose them.
Saturday. Yep, there's a show on Saturday and I'm like, get 600 more pictures.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we have a photographer. Well, you have a bunch of photographers that come to our shows. One of them is Jeremy Cross, and his pictures are excellent. And I love getting his pictures and then trying to print them out. I never actually get around to doing it, but I always have like the hope of doing it. We also have Cisco Soto, who is another amazing photographer as well. And all these guys get to capture the moments that I can't because I'm either in the ring or I'm backstage or something. So it's not only the pictures that you take, it's the pictures that other people take, because if I'm in the ring, I can't take a picture of myself unless I'm Valerie Berman, who is another amazing female wrestler. And I have other people, whether it's fans or professionals, that take these moments and capture them for me. And I love it.
Yeah, and like people always say like wrestling, like it wouldn't be possible without the wrestlers, but at the same time
it wouldn't
like,
be possible without everyone else. Otherwise we're just a bunch of
exactly.
weirdos getting into a square ring and being like punch punch stab stab.
Exactly. Like my friend, she at first had no idea about independent wrestling. I was like, girl, hold on, we're gonna talk here for like we talked 4 hours about it, and I was like, she's like, wait, so is it just guys wrestling in their underwear? I'm like, no, there's so much more meaning behind their underwear.
I know. My first the first ever experience that I had at like a live independent wrestling show, I remember there was a guy walking by, and I see him and he's just wearing these like really small trunks, and I'm like, wow, the confidence you have to have. And nowadays I'm just like, hey, what's going on? Nice shorts. Like now it's so normal to me, but especially your first ever match that either you perform in or you go to, it's eye-opening, to say the least.
I mean, and like some people have so much like trust in their gear. I would never trust. I mean,
I do not.
I'll be like,
I get my gear professionally made, and it's by this great guy, Manuel, over in California, and I love his gear. It's really good quality, and it hasn't failed me yet. But I have seen other gear that has failed people in the ring, and I'm like, oh no.
I know, that would probably be like one of my biggest things always running through my head, like, oh, what if my butt's showing, or like what if something's like showing and I can't see it?
Right. And that's one of the anxieties that like goes through your head, especially as someone that's new. And maybe even as someone that's been around for a while, but definitely as someone that's new, you want to make sure everything is great. And you come up with like or at least I came up with the most ridiculous problems that aren't going to exist. What if my gear falls off? It's not going to happen. What if I lose a shoe? It's probably not going to happen. Like all these different random things. And then at some point it actually clicked with me. Like if it happens, it happens, like this is sports entertainment.
Exactly. It's entertainment for a reason. If like worst comes to worst, you know how to play it off, or like just keep going like nothing happened.
Exactly.
So you kind of said like your first match, like your debut match was like something like very important to you. But my dad says, was there ever a match that you had that after the match had you in tears that you were happy about like your performance?
Well, so no one saw me cry for this one. It was my most recent match, and it was at the Lancaster Barnstormers Stadium. Sorry, I'm watching them train, and they're going really good. and I want to cheer them on. It was against Just Jay, and it was at the Lancaster Barnstormers Stadium. And it was like a family fun day, I think it was called. And it was only 3 matches. We were number 2, and Jay, it was his first time performing in front of a crowd this big. There was a ton of kids, which of course I love because I'm like my friends. And it went great, and Jay did an amazing job. I won. It was just a turning point kind of for me. I loved it. The whole thing went so well, and I couldn't be happier about it. So there wasn't really anywhere to really go, but I ended up kind of like walking off to the side a little bit, and I'm like, wow, this is real. But I would say the most recent match that I've done, just watching someone that came in after me learn everything that I know and put on one hell of a performance.
No,
and the best part was that the kids loved him, even though he was supposed to be the bad guy. The kids still loved him because he's so eccentric and he has such a great personality that they're like, I don't like you, but I do.
Yeah, I like that's my problem because like I'm such that fan. Like I'm like the little kid. Like I will turn a heel face. After I'm like, oh, I don't like you as a face. You gotta go back to being a heel.
There are definitely people that you look at and you're like, oh, you changed. Great. Sometimes it's like, I like you so much better like this, and then other times you're like, please go back.
Yeah, there's this wrestler, his name is Rembrandt, and like he is like such a heel, and like these last couple months the fans, like they're heels, nobody's gonna cheer for them, but I was at one, I was like, hell yeah, let me cheer for them. It was him and Cosmic, and so like last couple months Rembrandt is now like the crowd loves him. He is now a face. I'm like, oh, I can't take you. No, you gotta go. You gotta go back to being a heel. Like I have to boo you, I guess.
I love it. I found out recently, and it's kind of funny just because I know him on a personal level, like as a friend. The Tarzanian Devil, Tarzan Duran. He's from Jersey. He's been at all of our 3 Legacy shows. He's an amazing worker. He's all over the country doing everything. And I remember every time I saw him, I would always cheer for him because I'm like, wow, he's so good. And then it finally occurred to me that he's a heel. And I was like, wait, I've been cheering for him this whole time, like in the whole idea that he's like a good guy. And then someone's like, no, Zoe, he's a heel. And I'm like, oh, that explains it. But yeah, people like him, like, I mean, well, really, whether he was a face or a heel, I'm going to cheer for him anyway, just because he's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I can't hate him. He could beat up like my favorite person and I'd be like, thank you.
I still like him.
He's so talented. And then there's other people that I'm like, if you change from either a babyface to a heel or a heel to a babyface, I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
It ruined everything.
I think that's what it means. Like some people have that face, like you could tell they are, or like there's some like Tarzan. I've seen him wrestle like so much, and like he looks like a baby face, but like he can play off as a heel, and it's crazy.
And even still, I'm just like, you're so good, and I can't have people hear me cheer for you.
Right. And it's kind of like in wrestling, like if one person starts cheering or chanting something, it's gonna like start a wave and like multiple people are gonna do it. So I don't know. I think that's what I'm gonna do when I see Rembrandt. I'm gonna be like, oh, you suck, and like the crowd starts.
That's another thing. When you're a heel, you have to get used to people hating you. And again, although I think that I am, because I'm 5'2", and I think that I have the personality of someone that's like 7'4" with 2 pistols. Like, I don't. I cry. There's a cat that walks by at training. I've named her Petunia, and every time I see her, I want to burst into tears. Yeah, it's sad. So I don't think, at least not yet, that I could really handle a big group of people, especially kids, being like, I don't like you anymore, because I'd start crying.
Yeah, I like
that's why I'm a baby face, because everyone loves me.
Right? I like
that's my goal.
That's great. So if people don't know, do you have merch? And if so, where can they purchase it?
As of right now, all I have are 8x10s that I can mail out to people. You can either message me or whatever on whether it's Instagram. I'm Zoey Cannon with a little underscore. On Twitter, I'm Real Zoey Cannon. On Facebook, I'm Zoey Cannon. Again, all I have right now are 8x10s. I am in. Oh, sorry, I almost dropped you. I am in the works of getting T-shirts. I just can't decide on a picture.
That's
I have a couple different ideas. Usually I just, whether with an 8x10 or something, I'll be like, hey, here's a 3 Legacies sticker or a wristband or bracelet rather that I always have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always have something for them.
Great.
But I mean, if there's any merch people that are watching that want to help me out, I know nothing.
So obviously you also said that you have a show coming up this Friday.
Yes.
Other than that, is there, well, and one in August too, but other than those two, are there any like that you will be attending in the next couple weeks?
That I will be attending. I will be in attendance at the Susquehanna Wrestling Organization, SWO, this upcoming Saturday. Everyone on. I have done work with a company, WDWA, which is World Domination Wrestling Alliance. You got to remember all sorts of letters and what they mean. And they're out of Martinsburg, West Virginia. They're awesome. I love going to their shows. Their crowd is super tight. Oh my God, it's Just Jay.
Hello.
We're on a podcast.
Hello.
Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're fine.
Sure you're okay.
Oh yeah, I'm fine.
Hello.
He's the one I had the great match with.
Well, I beat her up.
He did beat me up. But I mean, anyway, just yet. But I love going to their shows. As far as like until the rest of the year, who knows?
Right. So you gotta just follow her on social media and like join her journey with her.
Yes. And I always need to be reminded of shows that are happening because I will forget. If it's not written in my little old lady planner book, I forget.
I have it too. It's okay. But my dad, he makes my logos. They're cool. Like my logo, I guess you could say, like on the wrestling Facebook is like me in like a purge mask, but like wrestling way. And, like it's really cool. So my dad goes and says I can help make a logo for her that she could put on.
Yes,
shirt.
Dad.
So he could just send some pictures his way, and then he'll just edit them, and you'll be like, "Oh man, that one's fire!"
Yes, I can use all the help I can get because I am not technologically savvy. I do everything usually like pen and paper. So if someone has anything that they want to help me with, by all means.
You heard it here, guys. So, like I said, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait to see you at a show one day.
Right? It'll be fun. You'll know I'll be there. You'll hear me be like, "Oh, that's that girl."
You'll be hearing me going, "Oh my God!"
Right? We'll be like, "Oh my God, how are you?"
And if a photographer that's watching does not capture that moment, I will cry.
Right? We'll cry together. Be like, "Oh my God!"
Oh my gosh, you didn't get a picture.
But thank you so much for coming on. I'll let you get back to training, but everyone, please make sure you're sharing, subscribing, because who knows, your friends might be wrestling fans and they don't even know it. So, like I said, hitting the subscribe button only takes like 5 seconds. Make sure you're giving her a follow because her journey is just beginning and she's doing so much great stuff, and I'm so happy for her. So, just tune in and do your thing, guys.
Thank you so much, honey.